Anyway, so let's begin. First thing up is the Anaglyph Jukebox. So, take it away, DB. That's his nickname.
Welcome to today's edition of the Anaglyph Jukebox. You never know what you'll find on the old jukebox. Let's press B31. Okay, we've got 3D Disneyland, Like You've Never Seen It Before, by David A. Bossert, featuring images from the Ted Kersey collection. There was a time before Disney was a multi-billion-dollar global entertainment conglomerate, a time before Disney was a part of American culture, but most folks alive today cannot recall that time. The Walt Disney Company was founded by Walter Elias Disney on October 16, 1923, in Burbank, California. There are few megacorporations in the history of the planet that have the sort of dedicated fan base that Disney has. People love Disney, and they express this love with their wallets and pocketbooks. In 2020, the Walt Disney Company was worth $200 billion, more than double the figure reported in 2018. For anyone who's interested, the Jukebox would like to make a book recommendation. Wild Minds, The Artists and Rivalries That Inspired the Golden Age of Animation by Reed Mittenbuehler. It's the place to go if you'd like to learn the unvarnished version of how Walt Disney became Hollywood's favorite uncle, and about the empire he built based on animated cartoons. Disney had broken off the screen and into real life on July 17, 1955 in Anaheim, California, when he opened Disneyland, the only theme park designed and built to completion under his direct supervision. Its official slogan, "The happiest place on earth." 3D Disneyland is the only book to document this iconic amusement park in 3D from 1955 through the 1990s. Author David A. Bossert says it clearly, quote, "That is the wonder of 3D photography. It can capture a moment in both time and space for posterity." The Jukebox's friend Jeff will sell you a copy today, and you can be reading and viewing it tomorrow. Most of the 3D photography is by Ted Kersey, 1955 through 1958, and from 1980, the 25th anniversary of Disneyland. He used a Kodak Stereo Aniston 35mm camera purchased in 1955. These are supplemented with images by Patrick Swinia, who also converted all the original images into anaglyphs for this book. He took 3,000 DPI scans of each right eye and left eye view for this work. Kersey was a master special effects animator for Disney, who began working first on The Rescuers in 1977 and had a long, distinguished career working on classic films like The Little Mermaid, 1989, Beauty and the Beast, 1991, Aladdin, 1992, The Lion King, 1994, and Pocahontas, 1995. Kersey was also a dedicated stereo card collector who specialized in the mining towns and camps of Colorado. On vacation, he would travel to the state and track down the sites in his views and take a new stereo shot of that same location. So a mining shot from 1870 might have a 1970 after image showing what the site looked like now, or rather then. And after all the movie palaces, the ships, the trains, the jungle cruises, the haunted mansions, the carousels, and the space rocket, the final image in this presentation is a shot of Walt Disney standing in front of the Fantasyland Castle at the grand opening of Disneyland on July 17, 1955. He's got a great big grin on his face, Surely, this photo captures Walt at one of the happiest moments in his life.
But we're going to keep moving now. Thanks again, Joe. And now for this week's Stereo Gallery, Water. We have two submissions. One of some NYSA member Greg Sherman, located here in New York City. We're going to begin with him.
All right, so I'm probably the only Oregonian here in this meeting, and so I have a lot of things I can share about the beauty of Oregon. So,
how do Oregonians ask for oregano? It must be very complicated.
Well,
wait a minute. Wait. I get my own rim shot for that. Please explain. This is quite a nice little scene you have here.
Okay, so basically, about 50 miles from Portland, Oregon, there's the Columbia Gorge. So the Columbia River separates from Oregon and Washington. And here along that gorge, which is about 80 miles, you have a Route 1, and basically you can overview the Columbia Gorge, which is 80 miles, up to 4,000 feet deep. And there's several waterfalls along this. And this is on Route 1, where there's about 15 different waterfalls, the last one being Multnomah Falls. And here we have one of my favorites, Joaquina, and we have some strangers in the foreground. And basically, you know, I'm kind of an unappreciative photographer, even though I'm using this W3. The W3 is a great camera and easy to use, but it doesn't really afford us much value when it really comes to distance and depth. And so these two people who I have no idea who they are, and I wanted them to leave, but now I appreciate they're there, because it adds some depth to this photograph, which was much needed.
Yeah, and it gives scale, because you could actually see
it
what
really
that
gives
is.
scale. So I thank them now, but I wasn't appreciating them then. I just got tired of waiting for them to leave.
Divine intervention. I'll take it every time.
And then this is one of the next falls. This one, I believe, is Littoral. And again, most of these falls can be seen a little bit right from this old highway, and some of them you have to hike into a short distance. And this is one of the ones that you have to hike into a short distance. And again, this is probably taken, you know, this is the summer of 2019. So it's July, August, a Saturday. It's the height of the tourist systems. I brought my two sisters, but I was determined to take as many 3D waterfall pictures as I could, because I had zero waterfall pictures until I made this little trip.
Now, how close to the now this is that route you said. Now, is that like up the shore? Does that go up the coast?
No,
or where is
that
it?
goes right along the Columbia River. So basically, you got the Columbia River Gorge, and you got this old highway, and it's up on the highway. And below, lower down, they have the freeway. But the freeway and the highway never connect. You know, at Multnomah Falls, which is a few miles from this fall, which is 600 feet, which I don't have a 3D picture of, you know, is really the tourist attraction and gets 1 to 2 million people a year. But I love all these other waterfalls. This one here is Horsetail Falls, and again, it's July, August in a summer which had very little rain. In fact, there was a fire starting in the eastern part of the Columbia Gorge, which was unprecedented because it was so dry. The fire from Washington actually blew embers across and was starting a fire. And at the time of this photograph, it was about 40 miles away. So there was no danger, but smoke was beginning to build up in the gorge. And in fact, this was the last day the Columbia Gorge was open for over a year, because right after this, the fire got too close. They closed it down, and because of the fire danger, they didn't open it up for almost a year and a half. But there's no danger done to these 15 waterfalls.
Now the Columbia Gorge, okay, so that feeds into
the Columbia Gorge is the Columbia River, and so
okay. Now where does the Columbian River? What does that feed into?
It goes into the ocean.
Oh, it goes. It hangs a right.
It basically it doesn't. It's not hanging right. It goes straight out to Astoria and into the ocean. So it basically divides Oregon and Washington for the whole way. And 80 miles of it is this Columbia Gorge. And this is one more shot of Horsetail Falls.
And this is all a state park or something you're in?
this is all right along the highway. Each one of these things you can just walk into. There's a little. It's a highway one's a little teeny. It's a 1-lane road each way, and there's a little bit of parking and a little bit of places to pull over and photograph. And there's ways to park and walk in and get some good pictures, or take a hike through all of these things. There's about 15 of these right in this little section.
And how far is this from Portland, did you say?
50 miles.
50, an hour out of Portland. And this
Yeah.
is not, but this is not state park. Is it privately owned land? What is it?
I guess it's all park at this point.
Yeah, you really
It's all
can't do much with
National
this.
Forest, National Park by this point, yeah. And
Now, as a kid, you grew up in Portland. Where'd you grow up?
I grew up in Portland, so there's Oregon's got like all states, 6 beautiful things. The Columbia Gorge is one. Mount Hood, which is about an hour and a half from Portland's another, where I had a cabin as a kid. An hour and a half, you're at the beach, and the entire beach, all along the Oregon coast is beautiful. And I also, spent a lot of time there. And then you have Crater Lake, and then you have all these rivers. And basically, if you like, windsurfing, that's right at the end of the gorge. And here we have one more shot of Wakima as it splashes into the water. And now we got no people in the view, so you don't really get a perspective. But again, it's about 150 feet from where I'm taking this picture.
So I just want to get this straight. So what feeds the Columbia River? Like, where's that coming? Is that out of Canada, Alberta? Where's that getting fed from?
Again, another river feeds the Columbia River.
Another river feeds the Columbia River.
Yeah, but it goes up, for a few thousand miles.
Wow. Now, as a kid, is that what you would take? Like, it'd be one of the places you'd go hang out in the summer.
Yeah, or the beach or the mountains.
And now, how far is this from the water again? Because you're talking.
I'm about 150 feet from the water when I took this picture.
How about the ocean? I'm in the ocean.
No. You're right on the river.
Oh.
The river is 1,000 miles, but 80 of it is considered the Columbia Gorge.
But you said it. Excuse my thickness, because that's always a problem. Okay, so that the Columbia River ends up
in the ocean.
In the ocean, but what feeds it? If you go all the way back up, where's that coming from?
Some river that starts near the Mississippi, so it goes a long way. I forget what they call the other piece.
I got you. I'm glad I got you on that question. I feel good about that. Oh, that's great. That's fantastic. Greg, thank you very much. David Heiser. Or DB, because when you get too many of these Davids around, it's usually for me, too many Johns around. Here we got, you say David, something happens. So it's DB. And what kind of mischief could this guy create? There we go. He went with the water picture.
Yeah, I usually carry my W3 around with me, and I was at the drugstore buying wrinkle cream and foot deodorant, and there it was. The opportunity presented itself. Water pick.
Okay, wrinkle for that's good. No, that's funnier than the picture. I thought the picture was funny. Wrinkle. That's good, man. Oh my God, wrinkle cream and foot deodorant. Because that's true. Those things could be troublesome. We don't want to come out of the pandemic with wrinkles and stinky feet. So I'm with you. So we go from water to across the water, at least from this coast. Now we're going to hear a word or two about the books available from the London Stereoscopic Company. And I would say take it away, Denny, and you don't need to say it.
Hello everyone, my name is Denis Pellerin. I am a photo historian from the Brian May Archive of Stereoscopy, but today I'm talking to you in my capacity of director of Dr. Brian May's London Stereoscopic Company. We are not the original London Stereoscopic Company. Created in 1854, it disappeared in the 1920s, the early 1920s. Dr. Brian May bought the name and the logo and revived the London Stereoscopic Company in 2006. And since that day, we've been doing exactly what our glorious ancestors were doing, glorious predecessors were doing. we've been selling books and cards and lots of things. And as you can see, I'm sitting outside our premises in Regent Street. No, I'm just kidding. We don't have a physical shop. Everything takes place online. Before the pandemic, we used to have stalls at photographic fairs and every year at the trade fair during the National Stereoscopic Association 3D convention. But as you know, everything has gone virtual now. Because we don't have a shop, it doesn't mean we don't have anything to sell. We have lots of things to sell and you can buy from us. Actually, you should buy from us. And if you give me a minute, I will go through all the products we have in stock at the moment. One Brian May published is this one, A Village Lost and Found. Actually, he didn't publish it. It was published by Francis Lincoln, but we bought all the remaining copies. So now it is published and sold by the LSE. So you co-wrote this book with historian Helena Vidal, and it's all about a village, the village of Inton Waldrist in Oxfordshire. It used to be in Berkshire, but now it's in Oxfordshire. And it's a village T.R. Williams was very fond of, and he went there to photograph a way of life that was fast disappearing. Hopefully, there will soon be a sequel to that book, a book about the other works of T.R. Williams, who, as you may know, is Dr. May's favorite photographer. The second book we published, well, this time the first book we published as a publishing company, is Diableries, co-written by Dr. Brian May, Paula Fleming, and myself. So it's all about these creatures here. You can see if I move the cover, it's a lenticular. You can see skeletons and devils. So it's all about life in hell. And these models made of clay were created by two modelers in Paris in the 1860s, from 1860 to about 1874. And further on, actually, there were other series. And it tells the story of French society during that period, the end of the Second Empire and the beginning of the Third Republic. And it's all about making fun, actually, of what was going on in Paris at the time. So quite a fun book. We had the English version was published in 2013. And then 1 year later, we had the French version, the same title, because the Diableries are French anyway. And in 2019, we published this one, new version, because this one holds all of the 182 Diableries. We know for a fact that there are altogether 182. They are all here in that book, all in glorious 3D. Lots of hours of fun. The next one was A Poor Man's Picture Gallery, co-written by Brian May and myself. And it's all about art and photography, about painting and photography, and how photographers used famous paintings and restaged them for the stereoscope. And the most famous one is this painting by Henry Wallace, The Death of Chatterton. But there are lots and lots of other paintings that were used. And we also found that they used cartoons from the satirical magazine Punch, and that they also used illustrations from John Leech, from lots of other people like Cruikshank. And there is also a very interesting chapter about fairings. Fairings, they are those tiny figures here. And fairings, most of them, well, actually 52 of them, were directly inspired by stereo cards. And before we wrote that book, nobody knew about the connection between fairings and stereo cards. Then we have this one. If you're interested in fashion, this is crinoline, fashion's most magnificent disaster. Why crinoline? Because crinoline, the crinoline cage, as it was called, appeared in 1856, right at the same time stereoscopy became a craze in Britain and in France. And as you can see in the cover, again, if I move the cover here, the lenticular, it's all about volume, it's all about roundness. And people had a field decade of making fun of crinolines. We called it most magnificent disaster. We call it a disaster because actually lots of people died. They were the first fashion victims. They died because they were wearing those incredibly big skirts, and these skirts easily caught fire. Thousands of women paid a very high price for being fashionable. But it's also funny. And then, of course, came Queen in 3D, the first book written by a member of the band and illustrated in stereos taken mostly by Brian May himself. And sometimes he would lend his camera to other people while he was, of course, on stage and playing the guitar. You can't really play the guitar and take stereo photos, can you? But most of the photos were actually taken by Brian. And there were several editions of this book. This is the full edition, the first one. There was a light edition, and this one is using a light owl instead of a full owl. We have here an edition in Japanese. I think we have one in Korean. There are some in Italian, in German. There will soon be one in French. So this one is in Japanese. There were several versions, as I said, and this is one of the latest ones, the Bohemian Rhapsody versions. Why Bohemian Rhapsody version? Because it contains photos from the shooting of the film Bohemian Rhapsody. So that's why it's called the Bohemian Rhapsody version. After that, we went back to history of photography, and this is a book by Professor Roger Taylor, George Washington Wilson. George Washington Wilson is famous for his photos of Scotland. He was a very prolific photographer, and most of his images are still in very good condition nowadays. He was very, very adamant on the printing process, and everything was perfect from start to finish. And that's why his photos are so wonderful even today, 150 years after they were taken. So a wonderful book if you want to know about the history of photography and about commercial photography in the 1860s. That's a book for you. Now, if you are into astronomy, we published this one to celebrate the 50th anniversary of the moon landing, Apollo 11. Well, this is not Apollo 11, actually, this is Apollo 16. This is our good friend, astronaut Charlie Duke, Apollo 16. But in the book, you will find photos of Neil Armstrong, Buzz Aldrin, and most of the other astronauts as well. And it's brilliantly told by David Eicher. Now we have this one as well. This one is Cosmic Clouds. It's not, it's about nebulae. And the photos are not real photos, really. I mean, one half is, and the others are conversions, because of course you cannot have the baseline, sufficient baseline, trying not to have too many reflections. You cannot find a baseline to take those images, so you have to create them with a computer digitally. But the book is amazing and the images are wonderful. So if you like beautiful images, if you like space, astronomy, this one is for you too. Well, I think that's it. Oh no, I was forgetting. Very soon, hopefully, we will add this book to the shelf here, Stereoscopy, The Dawn of 3D, which should be released on the 10th of November. If the books arrive, because as you know, there are lots of shipping issues at the moment. Ships are being delayed. So we, fingers crossed, this book should be on the shelf very, very, very soon. Right, I think that's it. Hope you enjoyed this tour of the shop, the LSE shop. It's been very nice talking to you. Have a very good evening and see you soon online, www.londonstereo.com. Thank you.
It's really amazing what London Stereoscopic has accomplished. Here's that book, Colonel. Look at that. You get a garter with it. Only problem with these dresses is apparently women burst into flames, so you had to like decide how you wanted your woman, medium rare or well done. Oh, wait. It's great to be a part of this generous community of folks that love to share the results of their experiments so that others may learn and maybe even improve them. The late Greg Warmbrodt was one of those folks. Here is Dave Como, who'll show you some of Greg's work.
Greg Warmbrodt was a stereoscopic enthusiast and adventurer who was taken from us all too soon at the age of 57 on November 20th this year. He left behind a wealth of material on his 3D Time Traveler YouTube channel and more. Greg had a video as part of 3D Con this past August, and I think it gives a good indication of some of the imagery on his channel. After this video, we'll look into some of his wilder experiments with artificial intelligence and virtual reality.
Hey, I'm Greg from the YouTube channel 3D Time Traveler. If you haven't checked out my channel yet, I basically show a lot of my collection of 3D stuff, stereographs, Viewmasters, and stereo slides, and then there's a fair bit of stuff that I create on my own, and that's with 3D cameras or VR stuff. So I encourage you to give that a look, and if you do similar type of stuff or have similar collections, every once in a while I do what's called a 3D grab bag and showcase some other people's work. So if you ever wanted to do that, give me a shout out. So my channel is basically about things that I want to see on my VR headset, so there's not a ton of that out there, so I just kind of put what I would like to see there in 3D, and this video you're about to see is kind of such a thing. And more importantly, I ask myself, would the mysterious Dr. Stereo like to see this? And as you're about to see, I kind of think so. So enjoy the video and talk to you some other time.
I'm time traveling, the past, it's unraveling. I take a trip back in time, faster than a javelin. We'll see Jurassic times, make a bunch of dino rhymes. Check out this Viewmaster, I bought it at a 5 and dime. Now on to the dawn, when cameras were born. These old folks like stereography, they got it going on. Back in the days of yore, they fought the Civil War. North versus the South, glad they don't do this no more. Now, if you're ready, let's go and visit Teddy. I'm taking a picture with the president, so hold the camera steady. 20th century, got some real cool things to see. Cars and planes, the kind of stuff, it's fun going back in history. Now we're traveling faster, here comes the Viewmaster. They made up a lot of cool stuff with textiles, wood and plaster. Then 70 years ago, you didn't have to be a pro. You just took your realist camera and made your own stereo. Look at all this chrome and at the Capitol Dome. Thanks for the invitation. Yo, what's up with this home? Let's return to 2021. Oh man, that trip was fun. Oh no, I overshot it. We're in the future, son. No, it's just me joking. It ain't just what you're token. Just thought I'd show you more cool things. My time machine's not broken.
So this next video is part of an experimentation that he did with some computer AI. So let's take a look at a segment from 3D Time Traveler 3D Grab Bag number 9.
Hey, welcome to 3D Time Traveler. I'm Craig. This is Grab Bag number 9, and I'm going to be showing you some interesting things today. First, if you're familiar with myheritage.com, it's a genealogy site. They have this cool tool where you can upload an old photo and they kind of animate the face for you. Well, I found out if you did a stereo pair and uploaded both sides, both faces, every once in a while they would give the same animation and you could combine it and make a 3D stereograph. So that's what's going to be first up, and stay tuned to the end of that because you'll see Lincoln in 3D, which is pretty cool. And then after that I've got 2 little segments. One is on the historic town of Marietta, Pennsylvania, a very Irish town, and I was there on St. Patrick's Day, so quick little tour around that, and then just some cha-cha images that I took out on hikes with the dogs. So stay tuned, watch that, and I'll be here at the end.
From this valley they say you are leaving. We shall miss your bright eyes and sweet smile, for you take with you all of the sunshine that has brightened our pathway for a while. Then come sit by my side if you love me. Do not hasten to bid me adieu. Just remember the bright Mohawk Valley and the fond heart that's loved you so true. For a long time, my darling, I've waited for the sweet words you never would say. Now at last, all my fond hopes have vanished, for they say you are going away. Then come sit by my side if you love me. Do not hasten to bid me adieu, and remember the bright Mohawk Valley and the fond heart that's loved you so true.
So I see that Greg's wife is here and she's in the chat, and so we wanted to just to let her know that his great contributions, and everybody really enjoyed his channel and all that. So one other thing, so Greg was a big fan of the VR 180 format, which is a 3D stereo method using a stereo pair and essentially a fisheye format, and that gives the viewer a 180-degree immersive experience. So many of his videos are in that format, and the experience is like if you've ever seen a real IMAX movie theater about nature, not a regular Hollywood movie, but content that's designed to really wrap around you. Usually these images can only be viewed in a VR headset, where we're going to try to give you a sense of this at home. So John wants to do this after the break, so stay tuned for the after party. Then we'll watch the world's first VR 180 images from 1870 on YouTube. Greg's frequent contributions and willingness to explore the realms of dimension will be greatly missed by the 3D community, and memorial contributions can be made to the American Heart Association as noted in his obituary, which is on our accompanying page.
Dave, thank you for honoring Greg's work. We all appreciate it. And of course, all our condolences to Greg's family. I'm glad his wife had a chance to show up today and see how important he is and how he'd be missed.
You were promised the world's first VR, and so I'm gonna go over and play Greg's time traveler video here. And what I'm going to do is play it for a little bit, and then I'll pause it and we'll try to switch over and try to put like our virtual headsets on.
Hey, welcome to 3D Time Traveler. I'm Greg. Hopefully you're all watching this on something like this, which was, introduced here in the 21st century. I'm going to be, in just a short moment, showing you the same thing, 180 degrees, 3D, but from 1870. And it's not a computer trick. It's just something magical that happened when somebody did something really strange with these. So this is only going to take me a couple minutes to set up, and then we're going to be right there in 1870.
Okay, so now I'm gonna shift over, and we're gonna do something kind of wacky where
Stereographs were enormous.
Oh, so just to point out, this is we're trying to approximate the view that you would have of a VR 180 headset. Now, obviously, it's not really possible to do that, but what this is on the website, we have these links, and you can click to kind of scroll around. So that previous image where you saw it was all kind of like warpy. If I, I'll move it back here and kind of pop back a second, right? So you can see all of the things surrounding you. It's just kind of unwrapped to be in front of you. So in a VR headset, it'll be more wrapped around so that you can kind of, so you can look around right and left and up and down and be immersed. So we'll continue with the video, and I'll kind of live move around, approximating you looking around.
These. So this is only going to take me a couple minutes to set up, and then we're going to be right there in 1870. Stereographs were enormously popular in the last half of the 19th century. They gave people a chance to see the world in 3D, just as you're seeing this image. And this is an 1870 stereograph of George Irish taking a selfie by pointing his camera at that same ball that we saw in the previous image. What he has captured here in the reflection will look familiar to anyone who has played around.
I don't know, I'm having some problems here. Sorry, my video is not playing.
In just a short moment, showing you the same thing, 180 degrees, 3D, but from 1870. And it's not a computer trick. It's just something magical that happened when somebody did something really strange with these. So this is only going to take me a couple minutes to set up, and then we're going to be right there in 1870.
Sounded okay before.
Stereographs were enormously popular in the last half of the 19th century. They gave people a...
You can see the screen, Dave?
Yes, and it sounds okay too.
Okay, great.
Chance to see the world in 3D, just as you're seeing this image. And this is an 1870 stereograph of George Irish taking a selfie by pointing his camera at that same ball that we saw in the previous image. What he has captured here in the reflection will look familiar to anyone who has played around with VR cameras. He's captured a full 180-degree reflection, and he's done it with both lenses of that stereo camera. So I've unwrapped the information in those reflections, and now can put you in the scene as if you were facing the photographer and his camera in 1870. To your left is the Fort William Henry Hotel, and to your right is Lake George in New York State. Look up, look down. You are seeing VR 180 content in 3D taken in 1870. Same reflective ball, same location. This is Seneca Ray Stoddard's version of the same image. His camera is just a bit further back, so the view is a little bit different. Here are two more examples from Sonnenberg Gardens in Canandaigua, New York. Here are a couple more. The scans I got of these are lower resolution, so the image isn't as sharp, but you still get a sense of being in 3D space and you're still in the 19th century. Like most fads, this one went out of style quickly, but only to appear again. It reappeared in the 1920s. Here are some unwrapped photographs, just two-dimensional this time, including the first two here by the artist Man Ray. Unwrapping these globe photos offers us a rare opportunity when we see this lithograph by M.C. Escher. We can find out how good his drawing skills really were, and they check out pretty impressively. I was at a restaurant in Maine and came across this rather beat-up globe and thought I'd try my hand at it, just with my iPhone. You know what? 21st century, and the trick still works. There's more stuff you can unwrap, though. Fisheye lens pictures. Here are a couple of 3D photos of stereoscopic convention attendees taken by the amazing Susan Pinsky. It's worth noting that the people you see in these photos are so very important in carrying on the tradition of 3D that started back in the 19th century with stereographs, into the 20th century with Viewmasters and stereo realist cameras, and today with 3D movies, VR headsets, and whatever else is coming next. The fads come and go, but it's these enthusiasts who keep it alive.
Definitely go to the 3D Time Traveler YouTube page and check it out. And if you have the VR headset, you'll have definitely a much better experience. So yeah, so some of those were 2D. I think he's just showing the wrapping, and he's done some really cool unwrapping as well. There's a couple videos of the 60s, like the Beatles. They're in 2D, but they're taken with the fisheye or the globes, and he's unwrapped them, and so they look more immersive in the headset. So I'll just I'm going to unmute too. I'll allow people to unmute, and if anybody has anything to add, if people have like checked out the page, and if they have any comments. Okay, so I flipped it now. Or if you want to get in the queue, you can press the raise hand button and call on you.
Mic is live. Can you hear me? Testing, testing, 1, 2, 1, 2.
Yep, we hear you, Altspace.
Testing. Sweet. Just wanted to say the exhibit is awesome, and I look forward to its growth in the future. I thought it looked really interesting, and yeah, man, that was crazy. I actually was like, damn, this is really, this is really fucking cool. Excuse my language, but standing really close to that thing, and I'm like, this picture was taken in 18 something, and I'm like, what? But yeah, good job, man.
Pretty heady on a Saturday.
Yeah,
Yeah, thanks, Jerry.
yeah. Oh hell yeah, no problem.
Yeah, so we have these every Saturday. Saturday's our last show of the season, and then we start up again in February.
I have.
Sure, man.
Okay, sorry.
No. You go ahead.
I have the 183D images. If you can get them to me somehow, I'll set up a world in here where they're on a loop where people can go in and see them.
Oh, cool. Actually, you know what? We do have, I forgot to mention that, but we do, there is a world which I guess we didn't set up a portal, but there's no good way for me to get it to you, now. So in our links.
But you can send it later on.
Okay, cool. Let me point out, I thought we had our, oh yeah, here we go. So in the share, Jim Harp has set up one called NSA 21 VR 180 Depot. So probably if you're in Altspace and you go and you search the worlds for VR 180, this should show up. And this world has, it has some of Greg's images that he submitted for 3DCon. So some of his own photography. And then also Jim Harp was able to put some of these things that you saw earlier into that world. And I think Jay was Jay able to set up the globes in that world. I'm not sure. We have a kit that has the globe, so maybe if he was checking it out, they did have it.
From this valley they say you are leaving. We shall miss your bright eyes and sweet smile. For you take with you all of the sunshine that has brightened our pathway for a while. Then come sit by my side